Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Q&A for the 25th Annual San Francisco Independent Film Festival 2023. Good to have you back. If you're here with us now, you just watched the wonderful, cool little film Microwave, and we're lucky to have some filmmakers here with us. Hey, filmmakers.
Hello.
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 We got Aaron, the director, someone with you who you'll introduce in a moment, and Rick. And
Mhm.
I don't know your role either. Aaron, who's with you?
Yes. So with me is Camille Lund, the production designer, costumer, pretty much the entire art department, and also co-producer.
Right on. And tell me what you did, Aaron, even though I introduced you as director.
Oh
Tell
yeah.
me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I also I wrote it, directed, edited, and produced. Yeah, and then just hands-on in whatever capacity it needed to be done to get finished.
I hear you. And then who's the guy with the groovy mustache and beard?
I'm Richard. I was a producer on it. I also did all the sound design for it, and then I was the assistant director on set.
Wow. So, I have my questions to ask you guys, but right away I hear multiple hats for everybody. Did your cat do anything too in the movie?
Oh no.
She wasn't born yet.
Oh, well, welcome. Who is that guy behind you?
Sunday.
Monday?
Sunday.
Sunday. Hey, Sunday. You wore multiple hats, all of you. Aaron, why don't I start with you?
Yeah.
What was it like wearing multiple hats making your movie?
Oh, I mean, on one hand, it was nice to have control of everything and the general pace of production. But definitely especially in like post production, it could mean that things took longer because I would have to essentially fully learn for instance, like dialogue editing. I would have to learn how to do it, and then basically keep working on it until it finally got to a point where I was like, okay, this seems like it was made by somebody who knows what they're doing.
Well, and this was because of independent budget, independent
Exactly.
resources.
Yeah, budget limitations, and then also our post production was like during the pandemic. We were all trapped in our house, so it was just the nature of the beast of like I have all the files and I have a year and a half of time, so why not just tinker?
No, were you the originator of this idea in this project, or was it you and Rick, or you and all of you?
Well,
So oh yeah.
I was gonna say real quick, right after we graduated, it was sort of something where there were a few of us that met pretty much weekly, and we sort of all challenged each other to write a feature-length script.
Yes.
And so we were passing back drafts to each other for about little over a year.
Yeah,
And
that's a
then
year and a half. Yeah.
yeah, about a year and a half. And so we also were like kind of writing little things, but Aaron sort of emerged as the one where we felt it was the most feasible to actually pull off and actually put it into production.
Yeah.
Got it. And
And
so, back to the multiple hats question, Rick. So, did you guys go into this project knowing, all right, well, then I'm going to do sound design, I'm going to be a producer, I'm going to do some other things, or did you hope to have, an ideal situation where you had, people filling every position?
I think that we knew that we were all going to be tackling a lot of things in post production. I came on pretty late. Someone else was supposed to be the AD, and I came on probably about 2 weeks before we started shooting
Yeah.
as AD. But I knew that it was going to be pretty slim in post production, and I had done audio production before. That's what my original major was. So
Oh,
it was always kind of in the back of my head that I would help him out with that step. But we had worked together on a few shorts. I had AD'd his thesis film too, so
Yeah.
we had already worked on a few things together where we handled pretty much everything.
right.
Yeah, and
So
that's
we had
also, I would say, kind of one of the things that like drew us all together in film school is that pretty much we were all DIY people who were like, if something needs doing, rather than just waiting or trying to delegate and all that kind of stuff, we were fine just doing what needed to be done.
Right.
So it even when roles would be unexpected, it was never like a surprise of that we didn't know that weren't going to be filling in a bunch of
Right.
roles.
And you guys had already built your relationships in film school, San Francisco State, right?
Yep.
yeah.
So you knew you were good teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm kind of not asking my film questions yet, but do you guys enjoy film school? Would you recommend film school for like, people, maybe younger audiences thinking about going to film school?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, I really liked it. It's definitely something where the more you get in, you get out what you put in a way. And I would say probably the thing, while it's great to learn film theory and be able to have equipment and resources and all that. The thing that I found most useful in film school was the connections that I made with like-minded people, especially because I was definitely more of a wallflower. So being forced to interact with other people was a big help with film school.
Yeah.
But yeah, about you?
What do you
Um,
think?
I would say pretty much I've had kind of a roundabout educational journey where I've studied a bunch of really random stuff. So I feel like if you feel a pull towards going to learn something, there are other ways to do it besides directly going to a four-year school and stuff like that too. But just learning the thing in general, if you're drawn to learn about film, definitely learn it, and it'll definitely come up in some capacity somewhere down the line. Like when we were working on props for the film, some thing that came back from my early educational thing was candy making, which I thought I'm never gonna use this, and then it just came back up right when it needed to. So if you're
So how did it come up? I can't remember where there was candy or something in the movie. How did it come up to
so
decide the film?
yeah, one of the props is the Buckyballs. So we had to make a food safe version for him to put in his mouth for the shot.
The magnetic silver cool
Yeah,
looking thing. Okay.
Mhm.
if you've ever put those in your mouth, it's not a good time. So we basically, what I ended up doing was gluing like the same size of silver sprinkles together with hot sugar to make kind of like a little sculpture of the Buckyballs for him to pull apart and eat too.
Oh wow.
So that was pretty interesting, the way things that you're drawn to learn will come back up later in your
Yeah,
life.
and a little bit of movie trivia there. That's cool.
Yeah.
And how about you, Rick?
Uh, well, kind of just piggybacking on what Aaron said. I think film school specifically, how much you put in is how much you get out. I know a lot of people that I graduated with who are like, I didn't do anything in film school. I was like, well, I know, I was in class with you. But if you're willing to like actually show up and put in a lot of work and actually, try and emerge as a team leader, you can get a lot out of it. I got a lot out of film school. I loved it. And one thing, looking back on it, the other producer who's not on the call with us right now, he and I worked on a few projects together in class, and we realized that like we were making these shorts in school for like $300-400, but if you take into account everything else, we were on a sound stage, we had great gear, we're making like $10,000 shorts, but we're only cashing out $300. So if you want to learn if you want to actually learn what's it like to be on set and be in control, I say film school is great, but you have to really want to go for it.
Yeah. The access to those resources too at film school, and then as is evident by your collaboration on Microwave, you guys took it out after you graduated to make your first feature film. A very clever script too. So, Aaron, where's the inspiration? What I feel like there's Stranger Things influences or other sci-fi movies, if you will. Forgive me if that's not it, but where did your inspiration come from?
Yeah. Funny thing is, for some reason, like with all my shorts, people keep mentioning Stranger Things, and I still haven't seen it.
Well, it's fresh on the brain. It's
Yeah.
relevant right now.
Well, I want to be like the hipster who's like, no, it's John Carpenter. It's the '70s movies.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So
You want to show your parents that your film education theory paid off, and
yeah, exactly. I need to show that I'm really cool and have a big brain. But yeah, the idea for Microwave came up with I was actually trying to think of a horror movie because that's usually a good way to get a foot in the door, especially in the low budget realm. And the original moment was the idea of somebody who is essentially paralyzed by watching themselves a minute in the future, and not being able to break out of that cycle. But then I quickly realized that that isn't scary or a horror movie at all. But the idea just kind of stuck with me, especially because it was late 2017, so I just graduated, and we were doing our writing circle thing. And so future anxiety obviously is a big thing post-graduation. And it seemed like the concept, basically the root of it, was this kind of future anxiety, this fear of the unknown thing. So in working it out, I went through a few different iterations, and ultimately settled on coming of age, and these characters specifically. Just it seemed like that's where the story was just naturally going to.
Which I thought was charming. That was one of my favorite parts. I liked the blend of the coming of age with the sci-fi. You know, sci-fi is always mysterious and cool as a movie genre, but the coming of age blended in with it just made it, you know, enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
I just remember the first time Aaron ever pitched me the idea, he was like, it's a science project and a guy is glued to his chair because he's waiting for his future self to get up, but he never does. I was like, that sounds great. Let's run with that.
No, the original idea was it was going to be at like a science fair kind of thing, and it was just everybody is trying to get this guy to get out of the chair. But then it just kind of morphed as it went.
That scene kind of still exists, like towards the middle of the movie when Daniel won't move for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was baked in of like the. I also just like the idea of technically when you fully submit to the premise of like, okay, this is the full potential of this sci-fi concept, is just kind of sitting and watching TV for 5 minutes. So let's just go all in on it.
It's pretty bold or brave, if you will. Yeah. So it's a clever script. How much feedback did you take from, if you kind of have writers group, how much feedback did they give, and how much did you incorporate your friends, colleagues' feedback?
Oh, a lot. Let's see. I know Cammy.
Did any fights break out or disagreements or?
Not really.
Not really. Another thing that was why we kind of gravitated towards each other is that we're all pretty good about giving and receiving feedback, not taking it personally, and also pinpointing what actually needs to be fixed without being a jerk about it.
Yeah, you have to be able to separate your work from yourself, and I think that the people who in our group who successfully finished writing things are all very good at that.
Yeah, but like there was one of our cats is meowing a lot. So
we're cat friendly. We're cat friendly around here.
Perfect. But yeah, like one of the after the first draft,
which I have here.
Oh yes, the one of members of the group, Robert Negoesco, who's a really cool guy. He is doing a lot of independent comic work right now. One of his pieces of feedback was instrumental in like changing the entire structure of it, because the that split screen sequence, where Daniel sees himself kill himself in an alternate universe. In the first draft, it was kind of a thing that happened, just, you know, naturally as first drafts are, you're just trying to get everything on the page. And his note was like, your characters are sociopaths if that is not like rattling them to the core, and they're doing it, if that doesn't like just change the fabric of the entire evening. And that, I thought, that shaped and helped work out thematically what the heart of the story was, and that the movie is dealing with that kind of fallout of that kind of anxiety, things like that. Cammy, you I think were the first person to like read the full first draft. Do you have any memories of the reading for the first time?
It was a draft.
How long did it take you to come to the shooting script, to finish the shooting script? How long did you write it for?
Yeah, so first draft
Like a
was
year and a half, because this first draft is from November of 2017.
Yeah, November
and
of
we
2017,
we
and
filmed
then
summer of 2019. And I
yeah,
remember you were doing a version up until like 3 months before we started shooting. You were
I
rewriting.
was doing a version up until day 7 of
Yeah.
shooting.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, like, but in terms of like, I mean, like, because this version has
Yeah.
like Daniel in college
Oh yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like that. Like, so
Ah.
you're pretty much in shape. Like, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, only months before we were going.
yeah.
And now, so you guys shot in the Bay Area, right?
Mhm.
Shot in San Francisco.
We shot
Oakland.
in San Francisco.
How was shooting in the Bay Area?
Area is great. I mean, so I'm born and raised here. Cammy's born and raised in the Bay Area. And so we had a lot of resources at our disposal. Like the main set is my childhood home that my parents graciously opened up to allow for filming, probably not knowing how film sets
Right.
Will they allow you again?
No,
No.
but they were super helpful. Like my mom was was doing craft service and helping around the house. My dad was location manager. He also did like carpentry on it. He helped with talking to the neighbors so that they wouldn't call the cops when we would be shooting at 4 a.m. and having lights blasted in the backyard, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was nice being able to film in that house because like Paul and I basically just moved in for the month that we were filming there.
Yeah,
Paul
Paul
is a key PA.
Who was he was the key set PA, and also just helped out with a lot of odds and ends.
And what about the cast? Sweet little cast. How'd they get along? Talk a little about the casting process, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so casting wise, Cammy, you and I, we did the casting. We pretty much we posted on like SF Casting and Backstage, and we actually held our auditions at Piano Fight.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. In the Tenderloin, and yeah, pretty much we went, saw a lot of great actors.
Did a lot of mixing and matching and some
Yeah.
like icebreaker games and stuff like that to kind of loosen everybody up.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
a good
the
idea.
first round of auditions was just them one at a time, and then once we had kind of 3 potential people for each role, we had callbacks where we tried a bunch of different configurations, because it was really important that it not just be each person is individually talented, but that all 4, when they're in the same room, just gel together. And
Was it difficult? Did you have any challenges, or was it pretty straightforward?
No, I got very lucky that my first choices all just happened to work together and be down to take care of it.
The chemistry on screen too it seems it's pretty good.
Yeah, they all seem to really get along and become
Yeah.
pretty good friends by the end of the shoot. I remember it was a lot of times it was tough getting them out of hair and makeup because they're like, no, I don't want to go act. I want to hang out. I was like, me too. But remember, we're here to make a movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, also, I mean, yeah, my sister did makeup, and the hairstylist Sam Gagliardi, who's actually a bandmate with Cammy, did the hair, and
You really tapped into your circle of friends and family and.
Oh yeah, no, this
Oh,
was
yeah.
definitely like a homespun kind of thing.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they definitely were also kind of like the actors' therapists, and were just made a chill environment. That
Yeah.
they
And what are those actors doing now? They're they're younger, if you will. Are they
Yeah.
full-time actors?
Yes, so a couple of them are. Tang DeRose is working as an actor. I know.
Nathan went to like theater school.
Yeah, both Nathan and Violet are in school. I think either graduating or about to. And then Felicia is.
I saw her in a national commercial recently.
Yeah, she's
Cool.
also acting, and also she has a YouTube like a lifestyle blog that's doing pretty well.
Well, don't all the younger kids nowadays have a?
Yeah.
All right.
a show. What was the kind of atmosphere like on set? Another compliment to the movie, you guys too. You do create an atmosphere in your movie. It does have this kind of presence. I can't really describe it right now, but I remember like I felt it. You know what I mean? It was really well done.
Yeah,
What was
there's. I
the
think a lot of the lighting had a lot to do with that because we were doing this sort of like obviously purple is Aaron's favorite color. He's wearing it right now, but it was very lit with this very neon purple that sort of made it feel sci-fi, even though it was just in someone's basement. And then the score is just fantastic, and it really does like sort of put you in this like sci-fi head, even though it feels like you're just in someone's basement. So it does have that like
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too.
ethereal.
I have another note here. Great soundtrack, great score. But we'll talk about it in just a second. So, were there any, besides lighting, any other kind of approaches to getting this? This it almost feels like a period piece sometimes, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, not that far along, but and then the
Yeah.
future is hyper reality, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and also so yeah, there's a couple of questions in there with just since it's first on my mind, the period piece thing of it plays fast and loose. I'm sure like there are plenty of anachronisms because I did not communicate that it was a period piece while we were shooting, but it's mostly
or
before it. I mean, it was never it was
in the script.
it was never super important to me, but it is a thing where that it kind of takes place in the early 2010s era, because also I mean that's when I graduated from high school, and it's a very different kind of landscape, especially in terms of the fact that they're doing their YouTube show. It's kind of if it was set in the present day, like now you can go to Best Buy and like just get a ring light and HD
Right.
equipment and it looks great. But in the late 2000s and early 2010s, back in the like, watching Indie Mogul on YouTube kind of thing, it was all like, if you wanted to light, you went to Home Depot and you bought clamp lights and you found gels and you put it on, and everything was just very, you either had the thousands of dollars professional lighting equipment or you went to Home Depot and you figured it out.
Yeah.
And I just really, I have nostalgia for that kind of era.
Right on.
And so that's,
Yeah, well, you captured it.
that's kind of the mood there.
Cool.
In terms of the actual set itself, definitely it probably depends on who you talk to. There's, some people on the crew, like Rick, if you ask him about the set, he just like it's 1,000-yard stare because he was the AD, and that's just what happens when you're the AD. But like if you talk to the actors or some of the other crew, they'll be like, "Yeah, that set was chill. It was fine." So
Had a great time.
yeah.
Well,
only
Rick, I don't want to cause trouble. What were a challenge or two? Were there any challenges for you?
Well, we
For
only
me-
shot for 12 days, so it was a really tight shoot.
For me, it was every time that the shooting schedule changed the day of, and I had to stop building one set and completely build another, and build up, like put a bunch of stuff somewhere else in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, but you did it.
Yeah.
How about you, Rick? Any challenges?
Yeah, well, mainly it was just fitting everything in because it has a very slick studio look to it, even though it's like completely indie. And so we had all these setups that we knew we wanted, but every setup takes a long time because we had a great gaffer main lighting guy, Aaron Ware, and so I would always try and talk to him as much as I can. Like, well, how long is it going to take to set up this wide? How long is it going to take to go in for a close? And he would give me a very realistic estimate. I'm like, okay, well then we don't have time for these other 8 inserts that we want. And so
Yeah.
we'd kind of have to go back and by the middle of the shoot, it was sort of like, what's the least amount of setups we can do to convey this while still getting the coverage that I know you want to have your sort of slick cut back and forth. We're going in for a close look. And so I'd say really the biggest challenge was just stripping it down without taking away the visual style that I know Ryan Moore and Aaron Ware and Aaron wanted.
Yeah. I remember like basically pretty much at the end of each night, before we went to bed, Rick and I would just have to sit at the computer and he'd look at the shooting schedule and he's like, okay, so for tomorrow, you want 45 shots.
Yeah,
And
we
we
got
are
15 today, so
so pick which ones you want. And so we would have to just go through and be like, okay, these are the essential ones, these are the ones I really want. Here's ones that like we can just move the camera over here and punch in and you can get them. And especially props to Ryan, the DP. He was super instrumental in especially like because that set, like especially that living room was really hard to light because I mean it's a low ceiling. You can see the ceiling in the movie, and so it's hard to hide lights and equipment in there. Also props to Aaron Ware and the key grip, Nick Vaughn, just
And,
that
and
they
still
found ways to hide the lights.
and still keep your parents' furniture kind of in place.
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
also, we were shooting. We only used one lens for the entire movie. It was this Cook zoom lens, and so I think that did save some time not having to
definitely.
go into the camera bag and okay, we're going on 85 now. You know, just
Yeah.
that was a good move.
Yeah.
Just using one lens for the whole shoot.
Right.
But pretty much it was just a very tight shoot.
Yeah. And real quick, just comment on the soundtrack because that was a standout for me too. I enjoyed it. I wrote the note. Great soundtrack.
Yeah. So that's done by the musician, the electronic artist TOLD, Daniel James Smith, who's also a friend who pretty much got on board late because originally, like at the start of it, me and my hubris was like, and I'm going to compose the score because that's I can totally also do that. I know music theory. And then once we got near the end, I was like, I don't have the music production ability to do this justice. But fortunately, like I had been talking to Dan a little bit before, and he was like, he wanted to get into doing film scoring as well. And so I reached out and was like, hey, are you free and interested? And he was like, yeah, totally. And we just went back and forth. I gave him kind of the demos that I was like, here's what I was working on. Here's the vibe. Here's some of the inspirations of like, told him of like trying to emulate something like Mort Garson or Isao Tomita or like any of those late 70s electronic pioneer kind of sounds. And he took it and ran with it. And it was actually a really easy collaboration. I would say he just kind of immediately got what the tone should be.
Well, it totally matches well. I mean, it blends well. It's a good marriage. We have time for one or two more. What's something you learned from doing this? The first feature film, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All three of you. I'll start with it's Camille, right? I haven't said your name in a while. What'd you learn?
I learned a lot because I hadn't had any previous experience doing pretty much any of the jobs that were required of me. So basically I had a crash course in everything art department and a little bit of how to be a little bossy.
Yeah.
Be a leader, right on. How about you, Rick? You learn anything from your first major film, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest thing that I would apply next time is be sure you have a third of your budget set aside for post-production. It just makes everything so much easier to know that you have money. Even if you're doing it all, have a little money to pay yourself. That's kind of so be sure you have something set aside because when things do come up at the end, like oh we need someone else for the score, or we got to color
the
it.
fact that it was it was an indie budget, it was low budget, if you will. Did that cause delays anywhere, or did you just have to do more of a choice of economics, if you will?
I think the biggest delays was, so Aaron and I were living together when we were doing post-production. He moved in, actually the house that doubles as Maggie's house in the movie was where I was living at the time. So he had moved in. So our post-production was pretty chill. We were just doing all the Foley, and then I later moved to St. Louis and did all the sound design here. But I think a lot of what took a lot longest was getting all the people who live in the house to be quiet.
Yeah.
If we had been on a sound stage, we probably could have had all the sound done in a third of the time. But
Yeah, but and also, I mean, just because we live close to a busy street and also near Ocean Beach, so like when
Wow.
it got late at night, we'd be like, "What is that sound?" Oh, it's the ocean.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What was the kind of typical daily size of your crew?
On the actual
on
day,
set was like probably like 15 people.
Oh,
yeah, 15, 20.
that's hard to get quiet. Yeah, quiet set.
Yeah, but then post production would just be like one or two people at a time.
Yeah. So, Aaron, what's the thing you learned?
Rick actually stole mine, which was budget for post production. But the other one, I would say, I learned. It is hard to narrow down.
Brain is full.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with budget for post production. Yeah.
And were you guys prepared for any of the twists and turns along the way? You know, did you plan ahead well enough that it didn't
Yeah. I
interrupt
mean,
your day?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And
I would say
in a way, the lockdown the lockdown gave us the time, the inexcusable time to really knock out a lot of the work that we had been putting off for a few months.
yeah.
Right.
That could not have been planned for, but
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like the actual pre-production production, I was surprised at how relatively smoothly it came together in that, like, when we finally said we're
More or less.
going, we got the keys on board, and said like July 13th we're shooting, like July 13th rolled around and we were shooting. And we got pretty much everything we needed. We had one pickup day afterwards of just getting like the rogue shots that you don't need an entire crew for.
Right.
Various things being put in the microwave or just all the stuff that's like on the screen.
Right. And you guys said it was Rick, you said a 12-day shoot, right?
it was like, I think it was 12, yeah, with a couple
Yeah,
pickups.
those 12 shooting days over the course of 17 days.
Got it. A couple days off and whatnot.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's a piece of advice you give a future filmmaker, maybe someone going into doing their first feature film?
I can go first. Do it
Besides
while
more
you're
money,
younger.
'cause we all know we need more money.
Yeah. No. Try to basically, I would say utilize the time that you have in your like early 20s, your youth, kind of as much as possible, because everything gets harder once people's schedules start getting more booked. And that's another thing that I love about film school too, is just like you have all this time and you have a bunch of people who like all also have a bunch of time and you can just like knock stuff out. So yeah, I would say be proactive about knowing when you have time to use, and yeah.
Wise advice.
Yeah, carpe diem.
Deal.
I guess.
Yeah, right.
Camille, since you're on screen for me, what's something you learned or want to share advice-wise?
I guess it's really great to build community with other passionate people so that you can help each other to like work on stuff and maybe sometimes pay each other a little bit.
Yeah.
Sure. Very important who you work with. And Rick, some advice?
So as far as advice, be sure you really believe in your script. Be sure your script, your pages are locked and people believe in it and it's killer. And because, if everything else fails, you can always go back to it, be like, okay, well, remember, this is the document we're shooting off of. I know a lot of people like, well, like, oh, we don't need a script, I have an idea or anything like that. But
Right.
as long as all your paperwork is in order, and you have
Spoken
things
like
to
a
go off of.
QAD producer.
Exactly. As long as your paperwork's in order and you have all your forms and all, your spreadsheets and files, and people can look at it and go, okay, we have a schedule, then it's going to come together. Because I think a lot of the reason why Microwave actually happened was all of this paperwork was in order. We had a schedule, we had a script, we had a shot list,
Right.
and
Be
people look
organized.
at that. And I that's something that I learned in film school too. Like a lot of shorts that got made were because we would show up on like in class and be like, well, I have a shooting schedule. Be like, okay, well then I guess that's the one we're
Right.
making.
You're prepared.
Piggybacking off of that, yeah, no, the power of being able to show a spreadsheet. If you show somebody a spreadsheet, they'll be like, oh, this is happening.
Exactly. It just feels more real if you're willing to put in all that pre-production work
Yeah.
and you
Oh.
have you have the storyboard and everything like that, and you show it to a group of people like, well, I only have $5,000, but I did all the work already. Then yeah, it's gonna happen.
My other last most important piece of advice that comes to mind is ask for help.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, definitely.
Ask for help and ask for guidance from people who have done stuff before, and it'll help smooth things out.
True that. Doesn't hurt to ask, right?
Definitely.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you guys would be useful on other people's sets. Where can we get a hold of you? Rick, you go first. If someone wanted to reach out or learn more about you, if you're willing, where could they
Yeah,
contact
absolutely. I have a website. It's funny, rickpetty.com, rickpetty.com. You can email me through there. You can look at shorts I've done. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And it links
Right
links you to my IMDb and Instagram
Cool.
and everything.
you? Cool. How about you two?
Talk to this guy.
Oh yeah. I am bad at social media, but it's probably the best way to contact is actually probably right now through the microwave website. So yeah, the website microwavethefilm.com. There's a contact us link at the bottom, and it just goes to my inbox. So yeah, that's probably the easiest. Yeah.
Cool. Well, congratulations, guys, on making the film. That's no small endeavor. And for getting into our film festival. Thank you for submitting. We loved your film. Congrats again.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Hope to see you in the Bay Area. I'm here in San Francisco. I hope we bump into each other. You guys are actually live at the Roxy, so maybe some of these audience members will have seen it at the Roxy and meet you in person. In the meantime, everybody, thank you for watching. Check out more great indie films at sfindie.com. Bye, everybody. And stop recording.